And our special guest tonight on the Record Collectors is none other than Susan Maughan, who is not only known for her hit recordings throughout the early 60s, but also for her career both on the screen and on television. Welcome to the programme, Susan.
How are you, Mike? Nice to be with you.
Yeah, so you're here at the moment, currently as we're talking, actually in Stock-on-Trent.
At the Theatre Royal, yes, in pantomime. Right. Babes in the Wood, with John Inman as Nurse Wanda, Jerry and the Pacemakers as Jerry in the show. I'm playing the part of Robin Hood, and we're having great fun, and business is great, and it's now, can I say, New Year's Day evening, right. And how we all got through the matinee today, because I think we all had too much of the champagne last night, but it was New Year's Eve, so, any excuse.
So you'll know you'll know exactly the date we recorded this when this programme goes out. Is a lot of the
Fly flapping, well, I suppose so.
Flapping.
Yes, I say, come on then, back to Sherwood. Whoops, and I'm so bruised, so I don't slap it too hard.
Can we talk about your early career? You're from Consett, is that right?
Yes, I was born in Consett, County Durham, right. Which is between Durham and Newcastle.
Right, a very beautiful part of the world.
It is, yes.
So when did you actually leave it?
I left there when I was about 9 or 10, went up to Berwick-on-Tweed, and I was there till I was 14 and a half, and then went to Birmingham. My mother remarried and I moved to Birmingham, and I finished my schooling, 18 months schooling at Waverley Grammar School, Small Heath.
Right.
And so everyone thinks, I'm a Geordie, but they also think, no, she's not, she's from Birmingham. And of course I started to sing at 16 and a half with the Ronnie Hancock's band, which was based in Sutton Coldfield. So I think everyone thought that, hey, I'm a Birmingham girl, but actually I'm a Geordie.
A lot of people will know, of course, of Ronnie and his band who listen to our programme.
Yes.
Any contact with those people these days? Or not?
No, unfortunately, Ronnie died about 12 years ago. But of course, in those days, we had a 12-piece band, and we were working like 52 weeks a year. And I remember you saying something about Shrewsbury. We used to play the Shrewsbury Music Hall. Is that still there?
Yes, it is. Still
lovely.
there.
And of course, we used to do all the hunt balls and all the hotel, the big hotel dinner dances. And then summer seasons in Eastbourne and Weston-super-Mare and all those seaside places.
So getting into popular music as such?
It was great training. Band singing is great training, and I think this is why my voice has lasted all these years, because, your larynx becomes like a rhinoceros. It's just, I never had throat trouble, touch wood, because you used to do shows for like 5 or 6 hours, singing every other number. And it was the greatest training I think anyone could have.
How did you come with Phillips then? It must have been a change of direction.
Well, it was really, it seems like fairy tale, but I made a demonstration tape for some musician friends of mine who wanted to send a tape of their band to an agent in London to get some work abroad. So they asked me if I'd put the vocals on, and I said, well, yes, why not? And when they sent the tape to the agents down in London, unfortunately they didn't get the job abroad, but the agent said, who is the girl singer? And that is how I began my recording career. Phillips, recording manager, the late Johnny Franz, picked up the tape.
Famous recording.
Very, very famous. And he did all of Dusty Springfield's and many famous singers in the early, late 50s, 60s. And that is how I started to record. And at the same time I joined Ray Ellington and the Quartet, and I sang with them for a year in London. I'd never been south of Birmingham. I mean, it was incredible. It was like a fairy tale. I remember getting the train from New Street Station down to London, and it was like, it's a big city, all the lights, and it was very exciting.
What was the first rock and roll tour that you went on then? Have you memories of that?
Wow, I do, yes. In fact, that was with, I think it was a Larry Parnes tour, and it was a 42-night thing of a different town every night, 2 shows a night, and they were all in the big Isolde's cinemas and the Gaumont. And after the first couple of weeks, you didn't know where you'd been or where you were going. You just got on the coach or in the car and were driven to the next show. So you just virtually knew the hotel, the theatre, and that. But the big names now then, let me try and think. The Tornadoes, Hines and the Tornadoes, Shane Fenton and the Fentones, who happens now to be Alvin Stardust, who was at this theatre last year.
Alvin was a guest on the show.
Yes. Who else was on? Joe Brown and the Brothers. Eden Kane, Marty Wilde and the Wildcats. I could go on and on. Rolf Harris.
All familiar names.
Great names. Searchers.
Any American acts at all?
No, not on that tour. But I remember in the 63, 64 years after Bobby's Girl, people like Gene Vincent and Del Shannon and all those marvellous rockers, big
what kind of
stars.
characters were these people? as such.
They were marvellous. Well, it was a very, very exciting
Gene Vincent
time.
Such a big, people have different views about Gene. Did you play with Gene up in...
we did a show, yes, we did a show at the South Pier, Blackpool. And we used to do Sunday concerts with all the American stars. But they were very, very exciting days, with the Beatles and Jerry, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and Freddie and the Dreamers, and Searchers, and all those Fortunes, Marmalade. They were great, great days. And of course, it was the fashion, it was like the Mary Quant fashion explosion, with the miniskirts and everything, and the Carnaby Street look, and with the music of the Beatles. I mean, it was just incredible.
How well did you know the Beatles yourself?
I did shows with them, television. In fact, I did the Royal Command show in '63, where the famous John Lennon line when they were saying, well, you lot up in the gods can clap your hands, and you lot down on the expensive seats rattle your jewellery. I mean, that is a classic quote of all time from the '60s. And people like Brian Epstein and all the marvellous girl singers in those days.
Who were you being managed with by at this period?
At that time, I was with a management called, was it Albemarle? They were in Albemarle Street, Sidney Simone Van Stratton Agency. And then I was taken over by Dick Katz of the Harold Davison office, who later became MAM, and Tom Jones and Engelbert Humperdinck office, and London Management. And it was, it was just... They were very heady days because we were told what to record and where to go, and you just did. It was all very, very exciting for us. I did a thing for the BBC, Sounds of the 60s. I did my own hour program, and I had to choose like 18 songs. And why I chose them, Ian Grant was the producer, a very dear friend of mine, Ian. And it was very exciting because it was like going to the BBC to do a show with the Supremes in '64. And of course, no one then knew, all right, they'd had Baby Love, but no one knew the fantastic success that Diana Ross would have, for example. I mean, it was a very, very exciting time. And, I mean, for the last 5 years, everyone thought, well, 20 years of, since the 60s, now 25 years. And the nostalgia is just incredible. This last 2 or 3 years, I've been doing a lot of theatres, all 60s shows, and the theatres are packed. A lot of shows with Jerry, of course. He packs them in wherever he goes. And we never stop working. It's incredible.
Can we talk about your career as a recording artist? Because I think Bobby's Girl is the one everybody knows, but you had other hit records, didn't you?
Yeah. My very first record was called Mama Do the Twist, which was December '61. That was when Chubby Checker was in the charts with Let's Twist Again, which is number one again on Jive Bunny, isn't it, now? Then I can't remember the title of the second record. The third one was a lovely song called I've Got to Learn to Forget, and I reckon if that had been the follow-up to Bobby's Girl, it would have been a smash. After that, I recorded Hand a Handkerchief to Helen, She's New to You, which charted, and
Hand a Handkerchief to Helen. There was some article somewhere that said it was a little bit about Helen Shapiro. Remember those articles?
Yes, I know.
It was just a song.
It was just a song, and it was an American song written by, and it was just sheer, I didn't like the song actually, but it was very twee at the time, and it was like it's my Leslie Gore, It's My Party, it's like others, from that era. But a few people had a little dig. But of course, I was recording 4 singles a year then. I mean, the same thing with the Profumo affair in '63. I was at the Palladium for an 8-month season with Frank Ifield, and the recording company said, right, we've got a great record called The Verdict is Guilty. I thought, oh my God. And it was, The Verdict is guilty, guilty, guilty of loving you, bum, bum, bum. It was all that twee 60s girly sound. But we were told what to record in those days.
Do you think that obviously had an effect on your career then, because you weren't controlling it? I mean, you are known for your singing voice. I mean, the critical acclaim of your voice by locally here, in fact, and people have heard you recently say your voice is superb. But do you feel that you were, in a way, that the fact that other people choose the material destroyed your chart career as such?
Well, I think it was just, it was lucky. I didn't have the right writers, or they didn't come up with another song, unfortunately. And although I was writing material myself, it was mostly B-sides and whatever, they weren't strong. I think I recorded a Burt Bacharach song, which was the only hit they didn't have. A song called Come and Get Me, which was a beautiful song. It was written for Dionne Warwick, and they brought it over from the States, and I recorded it, didn't do a thing, which is terribly sad. So I was very unlucky with the material that I was given.
You've managed to continue and work virtually.
That's right, without about hit records, which takes me back to my training with the bands. And I think also, instead of just being put in one bag, I proved that I could do cabaret, I could do acting, in the pantomimes, the summer seasons, and I've had a very varied career rather than just be, say, a country singer or labelled in one bag. And I think that's why my career has lasted this long.
One last question. Of all the acts you've played with, is there any group or individual that you thought really should have made it that somehow fell on stony ground?
Oh,
that's a hard question.
That is a hard question.
Any act?
But some act that I've really enjoyed. Oh yes, I've got to say, PJ Proby. I remember I was on the show, Thank You Lucky Stars, with the famous program that went wrong. But I mean, he was a sensational performer and a great singer, and I felt terribly sorry that he didn't, really continue to be what he started out as. Very sad, but he was a great talent, and it was good to working with him on that show.
On behalf of the Record Collectors, Susan, lovely to have you on the programme and sharing those memories with you. I think it's about time we heard a bit of your music.
Thank you. Nice speaking with you, Mike.